Welcome everyone, my name is Rigel and today we are finally doing the What We Know So Far episode for Eurovision 2023 as of March of 2023. Now, I've been wanting to do this for a while now, ever since we got off the songs, but after that basically I got sick and you might be able to hear my voice right now that I'm still not really fully up to shape, but April's coming and March is about to end, so I really gotta get this out soon. So here we are. For this episode, I'm actually not going to just stay on the Wikipedia page because there's actually a good amount of stuff that it doesn't really cover, like pre-parties and stuff. So I will be moving on to my blog post later, but for now, let's start with the basic stuff. The slogan is United by Music. The event will take place on the 9th, 11th, and 13th. The host city is Liverpool, in the UK, of course, even though Ukraine won because they weren't able to basically prove to the EBU that they can host a safe contest. So so it's hosted. It's going to be hosted in the UK at the Liverpool Arena, more commonly known as the M&S Bank Arena, and the hosts were also revealed. I believe this month, or maybe last month. I'm not sure. I'll get to them later, but it's going to be in Liverpool, as I mentioned. There's going to be 37 countries participating, with Bulgaria, Montenegro, and North Macedonia withdrawing. So, with that said, let's get to the hosts. Like I mentioned, we're going to have 4 hosts: Alicia Dixon, Hannah Waddingham, Julia Zanina, and Graham Norton. Now, people who are aware of the UK's involvement with Eurovision will probably know who Graham Norton is. He's hosted several UK national finals before, like You Decide. I believe he also hosted Eurovision Choir when it was held in the UK. Don't quote me on that. But his main job relating to Eurovision is as the commentator, specifically the grand final commentator, which is a role he took on after Terry Wogan left this post. He doesn't really do the semifinals, and that reflects not just in the commentary but also in the show, because he's only going to be one of the hosts in the grand final, and the semifinals will only be hosted by the 3 women: Alicia Dixon, Hannah Waddingham, and Julia Zanina, while Graham Norton will be he'll be going back and forth between the commentary booth and while hosting the thing, as Terry Wogan did in the 90s, I think. And if you're from the UK, you probably know who Alicia Dixon and Hannah Waddingham are, so I don't really need to introduce them. But basically, I think they're TV presenters, and I think one of them is a singer. I can't remember which. And Julia Zanina's quite special, actually. I think no one at all expected this, but basically she's the lead singer of a band named The Hard Kiss, who were actually in the Ukrainian national final in 2016, and actually came second, just behind Jamala. And of course, as we all know, Jamala went on to win Eurovision. The Hard Kiss came second, and Julia Zanina is actually the lead singer of The Hard Kiss, and they're still, I think now they're not actually allowed to do the national final of Ukraine anymore, because apparently, I think it's something to do with Russia. I have no idea. But either way, they've been doing a lot of tours around Europe. They're still doing one right now. I think their current stretch ends in April, but either way, yeah, Yulia Sanina is gonna be one of the hosts for Eurovision 2023. And unlike Graham Norton, she'll be in the semifinals as well. And yeah, and also one thing that I don't think was mentioned here is the commentary for UK. I can get onto it later, but I'll just do it right now. The semifinals will be done by Rylan and Scott Mills as usual. They've been doing it together for a couple years now, I think. While the final will be done by, as previously mentioned, Graham Norton, but mostly by Mel Giedroyc, who was the UK spokesperson in 2018. And she's actually also of, I believe, Polish-Lithuanian origin, although she is English. So yeah, and many people like speculated that Timur Miroshnichenko was going to be one of the co-hosts because, he's Ukrainian and he's about as connected to Eurovision as one can get. He's the commentator. You might remember the scene from last year when he was commentating in a bunker and actually was like celebrating a lot and crying when Ukraine won. In addition to commentator, he was also the Green Room host in Eurovision 2017. Of course, that was hosted in Kyiv. And then before that, he also co-hosted Junior Eurovision when it was hosted in Ukraine as well, I believe in 2012 and 2013 or something like that. So yeah, many people expected Timur to be involved in the hosting, but it turns out, in terms of the main hosting, that wasn't really the case. He will still commentate for the Ukrainian broadcaster, but he will also be co-hosting the Turquoise Carpet in an opening ceremony alongside a Liverpudlian Sam Quek. Those are basically the main hosts. There are also going to be specific commentators from Liverpool for, I think, BBC Radio Merseyside, but I can't remember right now. So yeah, those are the hosts. And one extra thing to mention is that Hannah Waddingham mentioned in some interview somewhere that the voting sequence is going to be done by her alongside Graham Norton. So the part where they go to the different juries and then announce the televote scores, that's going to be done by Hannah Waddingham and Graham Norton. So yeah, there's that. And as you can see right here, this was the generic logo for Eurovision 2023. You've got the Ukraine hearts right there, but at the bottom it says United Kingdom Liverpool. They also announced the directors for Eurovision 2023. A lot of big names here. I'll just go through them really quickly. Martin Green. He was responsible for directing, I think, the opening ceremony of London 2012 Olympics. Andrew Cartmel is the head of delegation for the UK, I think. Or actually, maybe they got a new person. I'm not sure. Lee Smithers is the co-head of delegation and also the Junior Eurovision head of delegation. Tolan van den Nieuwenhuizen as the head of contest. If you want something that's kind of relevant, he's basically the main person who's responsible for the running order. That's mostly done by him and his team, but also, of course, in consultation with the EBU. And yeah, there's also a bunch of others. Stage designer Giulio Himede. For some reason, this doesn't actually show the design of the stage. I'll show it later because I posted it in my blog posts. The Ukrainian team have these three people. This is Oksana Skibinska, is the head of delegation for Ukraine. Yeah, so these three people are the kind of Ukrainian representatives in terms of producing the show. So yeah, and also the UK government is contributing £10 million for hosting the contest, and then several other costs. And in terms of format, there's a couple of changes. I've mentioned it before, but basically, there's a rest of the world vote in which people like me who are not in Europe can vote, or people who are from non-participating countries in Europe, like Hungary or Turkey. They're most likely going to be able to vote as well. It requires a credit card, so basically, Russian ones who aren't actually connected to the global banking system won't be able to vote. And yeah, we're also going to have pre-recorded backing vocals, as usual. And one thing that wasn't really mentioned here is the rehearsals are now no longer visible to accredited press. The first time the accredited press will be able to see it is at the same time as most people, which is the jury show, or basically the first dress rehearsal, basically, for which you can get a ticket. Yeah, so I think from what I've heard, the initial rehearsals will only be posted via TikTok. So, make of that what you will, or just go on Twitter, because someone's probably going to post all of them on Twitter anyway. So, yeah, let me know what you think of these TikTok rehearsal clips. I'm not particularly perturbed, because I don't use TikTok anyway, and people are going to post on Twitter anyway. So, yeah, I don't really mind, really. And as mentioned here, we had the semi-final allocation draw, which took place on the 31st of January, which would decide basically which half each country would be drawn into in which semi-final. Some highlights were that Norway, Sweden, and Finland were drawn into the same semi-final, while Cyprus and Greece were also drawn into the same semi-final. So much for separating voting blocks and all that. So yeah, we'll get onto the countries later, but yeah, for now we also have the postcards. Those are the clips which are shown before each performance. And this year, one thing that's very interesting is that participants are now told to film clips within their own countries. So, usually, or rather, in the 2010s, the normal case for the postcards was for the participants to do something on location in the host country. And then in 2021, basically they started using green screens to kind of beam the participants into the host country. 2021 was great, actually. It was like a little booth kind of thingy. 2022, let's not talk about that. But for this year, it seems like they're gonna be showing clips from their own country. Slovenia, the boys from Joker Out, they filmed their clip on the top of the building of RTV Slow with some pinball machines for some reason. The Croatian guys from Let's Free, they had their postcard in Rijeka, where they were like fishing and stuff, apparently. Yeah, so people are just the participants are just told to film clips from their country. But at the same time, I also saw somewhere that they're gonna use Ukrainian locations for the postcards, so I'm not really sure how it works. Maybe they'll beam them in somehow, no clue. But yeah, the postcards are gonna be a little different, but at least we're gonna have at least partially in-person stuff rather than just, green screens. So yeah, with that said, we have the participating countries. I'm gonna get to them in a minute, but for now, let's get to the blog post because there's some stuff that I want to talk about that isn't really covered in the Wikipedia article. So here we go. In terms of the stage design, we have this image which isn't shown in the Wikipedia article for some reason. It is described a lot better, but yeah, you can see that there's these lines in the front, which apparently signify a big hug from Liverpool to Ukraine and to Europe or whatever. The green room is here at the back, and for the first time since 2019, we're gonna have a standing area back in the middle, because that wasn't really there in 2021 or 2022, but now it's back for 2023. So make of that what you will. There's a little satellite stage right here, but the main stage is at the back. There's some huge LED panels at the back as well, and if you're curious about the numbers, that's 450 meters squared. The LED panels take up 220 meters squared. There's over 700 video tiles and more than 1,500 meters of LED lights. So yeah, there's that. I already mentioned this. Voting changes, and no more journalists at rehearsals. Postcards back to kind of in person, and they're gonna be produced by Windfall Films as well as a Ukrainian company named 2332. So there's that. And then we also have the tickets, which the tickets went on sale on the 7th this month, and there were 9 sets of tickets that you could buy. Second dress rehearsal, jury show, first dress rehearsal, which is the family show, which takes place on the afternoon of the day of the show, and the actual final or semi-final. So these were the prices. I've heard they're actually available for resale now on the Ticketmaster site. There's some people gouging prices. Basically, I think there was one that was being sold for like £12,000 or something like that, which is absolutely crazy. But yeah, they went on sale, and then it sold out just 1.5 hours after the start of the sale. And actually, kind of just for fun, I was like, let's try to queue up for tickets and see what happens. And obviously, I didn't get any of the live shows, but I got to the purchasing page of the semi-final jury shows. So, of course, I wasn't gonna go because this year, I mean, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know that I actually have exams on all 3 days of the show, so that is extremely fun, as you probably know. So yeah, I'm not gonna go, obviously, but I went on the site to kind of queue up for fun, and I got to the jury show page. So yeah, it really. I wouldn't say the demand was as bad as some have said, but it sure is expensive. So yeah, the jury show takes place the day before the actual live show, while the family show takes place on the afternoon. And there were also 3,000 tickets that were being sold at a lower price to Ukrainians in Liverpool, I think. Although that's not 3,000 per show, because that would be huge, because the Liverpool Arena only has about 11,000 capacity. 3,000, that is kind of a lot, but Now it's 3,000 spread out over all 9 shows, so it really wasn't as bad. And yeah, so Ukrainians were able to buy it for cheap. I think £20 per ticket, and also of course you can get tickets if you're in OGAE as well. You know, the Eurovision fan club of your country. So yeah, it sold out very quickly. I think resales are going on, so you can go check Ticketmaster if you're interested. If they're not sold out somehow. So yeah, with that said, let's get on to the interval acts. And we know for sure that we're gonna have Kalush Orchestra perform. This makes sense because of course, they were the winners last year, and people were speculating that the Hardkiss would be performing as well because, like I mentioned earlier, Yulia Sanina is the lead singer of the Hardkiss, but apparently she said in an interview with Muzvar that she will not be singing in any of the live shows. So yeah, that's kind of disappointing for fans of the Hardkiss. So yeah, also Katerina from Goa Age said that she will go to Eurovision 2023, but we don't know for sure whether Goa A will perform. I guess we'll just have to find out. They said that they're gonna announce more details about it in April. So yeah, there's that. Like I mentioned here, 31st January was the allocation draw. Yeah, so after that, we also had the head of delegation meeting, which took place, I think, about a week ago in Liverpool, of course, where all the heads of delegations, or rather most of them, because I think some of them didn't attend, but most heads of delegation did show up, and basically they got to tour the M&S Bank Arena, which that hasn't started stage construction yet. I did put that date later on that we'll go check, which basically details some important events. So yeah, the stage hasn't started being constructed yet, but the heads of delegations got to tour it anyway to just see, for example, where the dressing rooms are, and also the host countries, because of course this is a UK-Ukraine joint production. The host countries both got to draw their running order slots in the final. So Ukraine got the 19th position, so Tvorchi will be performing 19th, while May Muller for the UK will be closing the show at 26th. So yeah, those are the only known grand final positions so far. We don't know which halves the other big 5 countries will perform yet. And honestly, I'm not sure when we'll get them. It might be it might be May. It might be, I don't know, sometime next month. But it was also announced during the meeting that Anna Maria Bordes, who is one of the co-heads of delegation for Spain, will be joining the Eurovision reference group for 2 years. So yeah, there's that. The budget is actually higher than 12 million, as detailed on the Wikipedia page, but it's at least 12 million. And like I said, yeah, there's a bunch of administrative directors. And here's the stuff that the Wikipedia article won't talk about. And these are the pre-parties. So yeah, we're gonna have a bunch of pre-parties which aren't being covered in the Wikipedia article, rightly or wrongly so. And one of the reasons I wanted to record this today is because the first pre-party takes place tonight, and that is the Barcelona Eurovision party. Well, technically speaking, it started 2 days ago, but most of the artists started arriving like yesterday, and yeah, so there's a lot of artists that will be present. The hosts will be Sharon, who you might remember from Benidorm Fest 2023, Alex Martin, and Giuseppe Di Bella. These are all the names from 2023 that we're gonna have. Originally, I think we were gonna have Taya and Selena as well from Austria, but I just saw the news yesterday that Selena is sick, and so they didn't even really make the trip over to Spain. So yeah, they're out unfortunately, and I think Maymul is also a little sick, but she did go to Spain. I think she will actually be performing tonight, but yeah. As far as I'm concerned, all of the names other than Taya and Selena, which I didn't even write here, have arrived in Barcelona, and tonight they're going to be singing. And yeah, some of the names, there are also some other names that aren't part of Eurovision 2023, like Fendi for some reason, Destiny, Megara from Benidorm Fest, Polly Ganova, Ronella Hayati, who sang last night, Suzanne Georgi from Andorra, and WRS, for example. So yeah, those are some names that are taking part in the Barcelona pre-party, but the 2023 acts are only singing tonight, and actually, you know what, come to think of it, I don't think I've seen Albin and Kamandi anywhere, so maybe they're not showing up, I don't know. But for the time being, we also have the Polish Eurovision pre-party, which is taking place, I think, next week in Warsaw in Poland. And the party will be hosted by Polygonova and Konrad Zemlik. And yeah, there's again a lot of 2023 names here, including, well, I'm not going to read them all out, you can just read them here. And Vesna also showing up, even though they're not doing Barcelona, they're doing Warsaw. And yeah, so there's them. There's a bunch of very interesting guest performers, including Anne-Marie David, who was participating for Luxembourg in 1973, and I'm pretty sure she's British, so I have no clue what business she has showing up in Warsaw. So yeah, there's that. There's also IQ, who, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they were a duo taking part for North Macedonia a few years ago. Felivers from the Polish national final this year, Filip Balosz from Pesma za Eurovision this year, Grome, who I think that was Poland 2018 or 2019, Jamala, we all know who that is, Melvin, that's Ukraine 2018, Ackman, we all know who that is, Oceana, I think Oceana was in the German national final sometime in the 2010s. Polygonova is going to be singing, of course, Vicky Gabor. That's, you know, classic junior Eurovision name. Senhit, Slavko. I think that's Montenegro 2014 or something like that. And Susie, who's also at Barcelona right now. I think she represented Portugal sometime in the 2010s as well. So yeah, that's happening next week, and then 2 days later, we're gonna have Israel Calling, which is the pre-party that's taking place in Tel Aviv. It's taking place at Hangar 11, which is basically the same place Eurovision 2019 was hosted. So that's a huge place. So yeah, there's a bunch of names. I haven't got them all yet, but I think these are the main ones, including Euro Hechanovi, by the way, who right now is in Barcelona. So yeah, there's this stuff that's going to be hosted by Daphne Dekel and Siegel Schachmann. Schachmann? I don't know. So yeah, as usual, they're going to be getting a tour around Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. And then after that, 4 days later, we're going to have pre-party ES, which you can see is absolutely huge. A lot of names here, which is taking place in Madrid as opposed to Barcelona. So yeah, a lot of names here. And apparently it's going to be hosted by Blanca Paloma, which is going to be interesting considering she doesn't really speak English. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of names, including Theodore Andre, who isn't doing a lot of pre-parties this year. WRS was like everywhere, but Theodore Andre is only doing this and Eurovision in concert, I think. And also, Pre-Party ES is going to have a bunch of names from Benidorm Fest. Also, Dinash, Diodato, Evie Adamu, Calliope. Yeah, a lot of names for Pre-Party ES in Madrid. And I think it's going to be live streamed as well, as is Israel Calling and maybe Barcelona. I'm not sure about Barcelona. So those are going to be live streamed if you're not going to show up IRL. So yeah, after that we also have Eurovision in concert, which of course is taking place in Amsterdam, and there's a bunch of 2023 names, including Tural Turan X from Azerbaijan, and also Katrina from Katrina and the Waves for some reason. And yeah, it's going to be hosted by Cornel Moss and Hila Nurzai. And after that, we have the London Eurovision Party, which is kind of part co-hosted by Wee Wee Blogs, although they're not going to actually stream the thing because they just don't do that, I guess. So yeah, there's a bunch of names, of course, including Luke Black, who yes, he is Serbian, but apparently he actually lives in London. So a few days ago I just made a joke that he's just gonna walk to the pre-party from his apartment. So yeah, there's that. If you want to see Luke Black, you've got to show up at the London Eurovision Party. Yeah, there's some additional events, a lot of them actually. I'm not gonna talk about all of these, but basically, yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening. Well, I'll read out the names: Eurofest, Duzapa, Eurovision Cast, Bailey Sponsorship, The Greatest Show on Earth, and The Winner Isn't, Eurovision Cruises, Concert Square, Eurovision Book Contest, SGH Eurovision Extravaganza, and Eurovision Screening across the UK. One thing that I didn't really mention here is that actually Eurovision 2023 is going to be broadcasted in a lot of cinemas across the UK as well. So they did this in Spain last year as well, I believe. But this year they're going to be it's going to be happening in the UK as well. So yeah, there's that. After that, we also have the Euro Club, which is taking place in Camp and Furnace. The current confirmed performers are these people, it's very close to the arena itself, and also the Euro Village, which is taking place in Peterhead. So yeah, there's that. It's gonna be as mentioned here, for the grand final, people will be dispersed by 12:30 a.m. So, yeah, there's that. These are some important dates. Well, you already know about the pre-parties and stuff, but this is the one I want to highlight. The 26th of March. That's when the gymnastics British Championships will happen, and after that, because that takes place in the M&S Bank Arena, so after that, presumably, the stage construction will begin. With that said, let's go back to the wiki page, and I'll talk about each country very briefly, because we got the running orders for the semifinals a few days ago. So yeah, with that said, this is semifinal 1. Right, with semifinal 1, the show is going to be opened by Norway, who's going to be represented by Alessandro with Queen of Kings. Basically, it won the national final Melody Grand Prix, but before that, the song went viral on TikTok. And it is still kind of viral, getting a couple 100,000 streams per day. So yeah, this is a very strong opening, and it's pretty much guaranteed now in the televote semifinal that this is going to qualify. So yeah, a strong opening from Norway, which then goes to Malta. Malta is going to be represented by the Busker with the song Dance Our Own Party. This also won their national final, of course. MESC. There was a little bit of a revamp and a music video, but the revamp wasn't very major. So yeah, they're going to be represented by Malta is going to be represented by the Busker. Unfortunately, if you ask me, they're not particularly likely to qualify. So yeah, after that, we're followed by Serbia, who's going to be represented by Luke Black with the song Samo mi se spava, which in Serbian means I just want to sleep. This is interesting because last year, Constracta was also given the third position in the second semifinal. So that's now two Serbian songs in a row that were given the third position. So maybe they'll get a better spot in the final. Who knows? After that, we have Latvia, who are being represented by Southern Lights with the song Aya. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll know that I absolutely love this, and I really, 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 really want them to qualify. Even though this is actually still relatively early, and well, you know, as previously mentioned, there's this rest of the world vote thing now, and assuming I can vote, I'll be giving pretty much 20 votes to Southern Lights. So, you know, an investment well worth my money and all that. After that, the pace picks up again with Portugal. Mimi Cat is going to be representing Portugal with the song Ai Coração. I think it's, you know, in the Eurovision odds right now, this actually isn't looking very good, but I think this could be a pretty comfortable qualifier, if I do say so myself. Even though I'm not a huge fan of the song, but yeah, it's a very lively show. It's a very lively kind of flamenco type song. Some others would describe it as kind of a cabaret vibe. So yeah, Portugal with an upbeat song for the first time since forever. So yeah, with that said, that's Portugal, and then after that we have Ireland. With Ireland, we have the band named The Wild Youth with the song We Are One. Truth be told, I'm not sure why they put this so late, because, you know, not a lot of people have hope in this qualifying. In fact, they themselves acknowledged as much. I think yesterday in Barcelona, they kind of said something along the lines of we're not going to qualify or whatever. I don't know, because I didn't actually see the clip, but yeah, it was kind of sad. But yeah, Ireland isn't particularly likely to qualify, especially in the semi-final of death, as some have called it. But after that, we have a very different entry from Croatia, which is of course Let Free with the song Mama Shče. Yes, a very the song itself is different. The performance is even more different. Although I think like, I might be biased, but I think it might be more, it's gonna catch people's attention, but I don't think that necessarily means they're gonna vote for it, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I might do a top 37 video soon, but for now, let's just say I'm not particularly certain that this is going to qualify. So yeah, we'll just have to see what happens. But in the meantime, we move to a quieter song from Switzerland, which is of course Water Gun by Remo Ferrer. And this is funny, actually. Some people pointed this out because in Mama Shče, there's one line where it's like Mama idem u rat, which basically in Croatian means Mom, I'm going to war. And then in Water Gun, one of the main lyrics is I don't want to be a soldier. So yeah, that's very interesting. If you ask me, this is kind of hopeless because it's so early on for the second half song, and it's being sandwiched by two basically televote magnets, or at least attention grabbers at the very least. And speaking of attention grabbers, let's move to the second attention grabber, which is Israel, with the song Unicorn performed by Noah Carell. Noah Carell, of course, being a huge name in Israel. But pretty much everyone has agreed that Unicorn does not sound very coherent. They might like the song, but I think pretty much everyone agrees that the song feels like several songs stitched together. So yeah, there's that. But no doubt, the performance is going to be very expensive and very eye-grabbing. Attention grabbing. So yeah, this is probably going to qualify anyways. It's followed by Moldova, which is being represented by Pasha Parfeni with the song Soarele și Luna, which means the sun and the moon. Pasha Parfeni, as mentioned above, he represented Moldova in 2012 alongside Lorraine. And speaking of Lorraine, that's exactly who is going before. And this time Lorraine is singing the song Tattoo, which of course won the Swedish national final Melodifestivalen, and is pretty much a smash hit right now because I just checked the stats for the day-to-day streams of all the Eurovision songs this year from yesterday. Basically, Tattoo had about 800,000 streams just from yesterday, while some other entries from the same year aren't even getting like 20,000. So yeah, this is a smash hit. It's reaching the charts in many different countries that aren't even related to Sweden. Like I mentioned in previous videos, Tattoo has charted in countries like Greece even, or Portugal, and I think even France, which is funny because France is a country that doesn't particularly listen to Eurovision songs. So yeah, Tattoo is absolutely going huge on social media right now, and we might be going to Stockholm in 2024, but maybe we'll talk about that in some other video. In the meantime, let's talk about Azerbaijan, which is being represented by Turan X, which is a pair of twin brothers with the song Tell Me More. If we're being honest, I think they are pretty much dead on arrival. Like, it's been established ever since the allocation draw that the first semi is the semi of death, and Tell Me More is just a song that it's cute, don't get me wrong. I actually quite like it. It's if nothing else, it's authentic because the brothers, they wrote it themselves, but it's just absolutely not competitive at all. So I don't think this is going to qualify. And especially because going after it, we have the Czech Republic, or Czechia. They're known officially as Czechia now in Eurovision, which is being represented by the group Vesna with the song My Sister's Crown. And as you can see here, it's got a lot of languages. The song starts in Czech, goes into an English verse, and then I think into Ukrainian chorus, and then Bulgarian rap. After that, I think we go back to the Ukrainian chorus, English bridge, and then Ukrainian chorus mixed with an English chorus or sub-chorus or something like that. So yeah, a lot of languages being mixed here, many people were disappointed with the performance at the national final, but if in their defense, the national final was very low budget, very cheap. There were barely any cameras. The sound mixing was terrible, which is not going to be the case in Liverpool. So I expect this to be very much elevated. And certainly is going to bring attention away from Azerbaijan. And I think this is definitely a safe qualifier. And afterwards, we have the Netherlands, with the song Burning Daylight being sung by Mia Nicolai and Dion Cooper. We don't know much about it yet, but this being put so late could be advantageous. Some people said that van der Nieuwenhuizen, who is the Dutch producer, might have just put this late to advantage his country. Which could be true, we don't really know for sure, but I would say that this draw is great for the Netherlands because people who aren't into as loud of a song could be attracted to this instead, and then vote for it, and it would qualify. So I think this is actually a great draw for the Netherlands. And closing the show, we have Finland, who is of course being represented by Gadia with the song Cha Cha Cha. Yeah, this is absolutely huge. This is probably going to win the semifinal, if we're being honest. So, absolutely huge song. Huge televote magnet. So yeah, that's the first semifinal. Now let's move on to the second semifinal. With the second semifinal, we are starting the show with Denmark, who is being represented by the Faroese artist Riley with the song Breaking My Heart. Now, I have to say this actually kind of surprised me because a lot of people were pinning Belgium down as the opener, but it turns out they don't want to do that. And the thing about the opening slot is that it's neither good nor bad. Basically, if a song is strong enough, it's gonna qualify from that spot anyway. See the Roop Discotheque 2021. But Denmark's actually kind of a borderline case here. So I do wonder whether the opening act here might not actually be able to qualify, but I don't know. That's just speculation from my part. So anyway, yeah, Denmark's going to be represented by Riley, and Denmark will open the show for the semifinal 2. After that, we have something that's very surprising, and that is Armenia. With Armenia, they're going to be represented by the artist Brunette with the song Future Lover. And, a lot of people were expecting some sort of no-hoper for the second slot, like I don't know, maybe Romania or maybe Greece, but they decided to put Armenia. That surprised pretty much everyone, including myself, because Armenia isn't really a no-hoper in anyone's eyes. My speculation is that this is to kind of get them back for being allowed to close the show in last year's semifinal. So they decided to give them an earlier spot. This does kind of worry me in terms of qualification, but again, Armenia has a huge diaspora, so I wouldn't worry about it too much because apparently the Armenian diaspora are loving it. So they're probably going to vote for her a lot, and we're going to be fine. After that, we have Romania. Now, a lot of people have said that the second spot is a death slot, but actually many others have pointed out that actually the real death slot in the semifinals is third, and they've given it to Romania, which is right now I think is last or second to last in the Eurovision winning odds right now. But anyways, Romania is going to be represented by Theodore Andre with the song Degete Off and On, which is partly in Romanian, partly in English, which is very interesting. If you're waiting for some updates about this song, basically there's going to be a revamp of it coming out in the next 2 weeks as I record this. And also he says he's been practicing a lot, apparently 7 or 8 hours per day. So we'll have to see what happens. Maybe he'll be able to pull off a very polished show when it comes time to the semifinal in May. We'll have to see what happens, but as of right now, the third position is kind of the semifinal death slot. So we'll just have to see what happens. One thing I will say is that it's absolutely being overhated. Everyone thinks it's like the worst thing ever, but honestly, I really don't think it's that bad. I think in my ranking right now it is 12, and you need to know that my top 11 basically are like almost 10 out of 10, so this is pretty good. And speaking of my top 11, following Romania, we have my 11th place, which is Estonia. They're being represented by Alika with the song Bridges, which won the Estonian national final, Eesti Laul. And Bridges was also co-written by the same person who co-wrote Tout l'univers and Arcade. So that's a pretty huge Eurovision credential right there. And Alika is also a really good vocalist who sings really well. Pretty much no bump notes at all. I am a little concerned for this position because that is pretty early, for a ballad to be fourth in the running order slot. That's not very good at all, I don't think. But maybe this will be enough of a contrast to Theodore Andre that people will still vote for it. And vote for it they should, because I think this is a very good track. So with that said, let's move on to song number 5, which is going to be Belgium, who's going to be represented by Gustaph with the song Because of You. Like I said earlier, many people expected this to open the show, but it didn't. I guess they just kind of needed to keep the show interesting, which they certainly have here. This kind of light, feel-good house style bop. So yeah, there's not much to say about it. It might qualify, it might not, but I'm leaning towards no. And then after that, we have Cyprus, which is going to be represented by Andrew Lambrou with the song Break a Broken Heart. Andrew Lambrou was selected all the way back in, I believe, August or September or something like that. Basically, he's an Australian singer, actually, of Cypriot origin, but he's Australian right now. He works in Sydney. So yeah, he actually went to Sweden to write this song, actually, with a bunch of Swedish producers. Well, he didn't work with them because he's not actually listed as one of the songwriters. So he basically went to Sweden to record a song, which you can kind of describe as maybe kind of Imagine Dragons style. And it has a really big high note in the chorus. And I think it's going to qualify, although a lot of people don't really like it because it feels kind of soulless, which makes sense because, he didn't write the song. So yeah, there's that. There's Cyprus. And moving on from that, we have Iceland. With Iceland, we have Diljá representing them with the song named Power. And this is basically a kind of classic... you might say drum and bass type song. Yeah, there really isn't much to it. She sings really well. There's a lot of high notes in the song, and she sings them very well at the national finals. Silva Kepnin. But yeah, there's not really much else to say about this. I don't know if it's going to qualify because it's a really open semifinal, I think. But yeah, anyways, after this more upbeat song, we have something that's kind of a little bit more calm, which is... What They Say, written by Victor Vernikos, who's representing Greece. He's actually, I believe, half Greek, half Danish, so he could possibly get points from Denmark, although that would depend on whether people in Denmark actually even know about this. But regardless, yeah, Greece is going to be represented by Victor Vernikos, the song What They Say. I'm surprised this was put so late, actually, because, it's not a particularly strong song by most people's standards. So this being put so late suggests that the EBU might want them to qualify, or they have some huge staging plans that would require them to be put later in the show. So after Greece, we have Poland, who is being represented by Blanca with the song Solo. Now, Polish people are definitely going to say that she doesn't represent Poland, but, well, whether you like it or not, she won your national final, so just deal with it for the next couple of months. Yeah, basically there was a kind of rigging scandal with the national final, and the artist who was originally gonna win the national final is now trending in Poland and Ukraine at number one in Spotify for a couple of weeks now. So I think he's even trending global, like 13th or something like that. So yeah, absolutely huge. But that's not who is representing Poland this year. That's Blanca with the song Solo, which is this very basic kind of summer pop song. And I feel like them putting, the EBU putting Poland this early, because Poland was actually drawn second half. But I think the EBU putting Poland this early is kind of their way of saying we can't control what broadcasters do, but this is our way of kind of punishing them for it, even if we don't explicitly say it out loud. That's just my kind of theory, though. I don't have anything to back it up. But anyways, after that we have Slovenia, who are being represented by Joker Out with the song Carpe Diem. This was actually surprising to a lot of people as well, because they expected Slovenia to close the show, but I guess not. But I think they're still going to qualify, especially after following Poland, because Joker Out have good vocals, good stage presence, and a very fun song that is very dynamic. So I would say, Slovenia is still probably going to qualify, but maybe not as solidly as if they were closing the show. After that, we have Georgia, who is being represented by Iru, or full name Iru Hechanovi, with the song Echo, which is funny because at no point during the song does she say the word echo. Regardless, the song is in English, but if you read my blog post, I say that the song is actually kind of in broken English. There's one line in there that goes, "This feeling is Lord," which is really weird because Iru, if you listen to her interviews and like Instagram live streams and stuff, you will find that she's actually a really competent English speaker. But the point is that she actually doesn't really write the lyrics, because the song is in total being produced by three people. Iru herself, Giga Kuhianidze, who is kind of the main Georgian junior Eurovision producer, and then a person named Benny Kadagidze. And I think it's this person who is writing the lyrics of the song, rather than the more competent, more English competent Iru Hechanovi. So that's kind of weird. Anyways, back to the song itself. It's kind of a dramatic ballad, I guess, which really kind of showcases Iru's huge vocals, with a lot of very unique little components as well. So yeah, I think it's interesting, and I definitely think this is one of the most mainstream entries that Georgia has come with in the recent years. And I think it's going to qualify. It's going to break their 5 non-qualification streak. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But after this big song, we have something a little more, not as big, and that's San Marino with the song Like an Animal, by the band named Peaked Jacks. There's not much to say about this. It's a nice little rock song, but this is far from the best rock song in the contest or even in this semi. We're not really expecting this to qualify, especially considering what's coming after it, which is Austria. Austria is being represented by Taya and Selena with the song Who the Hell is Edgar? The song is in English, but there's this little kind of Italian phrase in there. If you haven't heard this, really go listen to it. It's an absolute masterpiece. On the surface, it seems like just a kind of silly little song which goes po 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 all over. But actually, if you look at the lyrics, it's actually kind of satirizing the current music industry, and saying that people can't get paid by streams. So yeah, I would have expected this to go more viral than it has, because right now it's only getting about 70,000 streams per day. But this is something that sounds like it would go viral. But one hasn't yet, so go stream it right now. I absolutely love this, and the good thing is that, for one, we know that Taya and Selena can sing. They've performed this kind of unofficially several times, and in separate singing competitions, they've also showed that they're both very competent vocalists. So we won't really have like a Pia Maria type situation from last year. And furthermore, we also know that the staging director for this entry is going to be none other than Marvin Dietman, who has been doing a lot of Eurovision stagings over the years. But what's special about Marvin Dietman in regards to Austria is that he himself is Austrian. So I think he knows that they've got something special this year, and they're gonna try to highlight it. So yeah, I think after this running order reveal, I think we can safely say that San Marino is hopeless. But yeah, speaking of countries that start in A and end in IA, let's move on to Albania, which is being represented by Albina and Familia Kamendi with the song Duje. A revamp of the song recently came out alongside a music video. I'm still skeptical of this qualifying. A lot of people are saying it's definitely going to qualify. They might have a point because of the Albanian diaspora, but I'm skeptical because it's a very traditional type sound, and even though they're being staged by Sasha John Baptiste, I'm still not sure how the chemistry of the whole thing is going to come along, and if they mess it up, I don't think this is going to get a lot of votes. So yeah, I'm personally skeptical of this, but in the meantime, let's move on to Lithuania, which is following Albania, and they'll be represented by Monika Linkytė with the song Stay. Or rather, Stay is the official title, but some people like to call this the Chuto Tuto song, because in the song, she and her backing singers sing Chuto Tuto a lot. So yeah, that's interesting. A lot of people didn't expect this to win the Lithuanian national final, Papanomišnaujo, but well, it did win eventually because they decided that the tiebreaker would be a jury, and this got a higher score in the jury compared to the other entries, so this won the national final, even kind of to Monika's own surprise. So yeah, Monika Linkytė, you might recognize that name from Eurovision 2015. As mentioned here, she represented Lithuania in 2015 alongside Vaidas Baumila. And this time, of course, the guy isn't here, but yeah, Monika Linkytė is gonna be doing Eurovision again. 8 years on from her previous participation. This song is very different. It starts off kind of like a ballad, but then turns into maybe a soul type pop song, if you really want to describe it that way. And anyway, after that, we have the closer of the second semi-final, which is Australia. They are being represented by the band named Voyager, who are singing a song named Promise. You might remember Voyager from the Australian national final last year, where they won the televote with their song Dreamer, but they didn't win the whole thing. The whole thing was won by, of course, Sheldon Riley. But yeah, this year they've been internally selected by the Australian broadcaster, and they will close the show with their kind of I want to call it electro rock song, but I don't know that for sure. But yeah, those are the semifinalists, and I think I'll do my exact qualification predictions video sometime later. But for now, let's get to the countries in the Big Five as well as Ukraine. With the Big Five, I think I'll just do this alphabetically because we don't actually have the running order halves of these four countries yet. So first we have France, who are being represented by La Zaha with the song Évidemment, which in French means obviously. Yeah, it's a kind of it's very French sounding, and it starts off kind of like a French chanson, but then kind of turns into a more sleek, more clean type of pop song. A lot of people are hyping it up, but I'm not particularly enthused by it. So yeah, I don't think this is gonna win. This could get a good result. I think maybe lower top 10 probably, but I don't think there's really anywhere near challenging for the win. So yeah, there's that. After that, we also have Germany with the song Blood and Glitter being sung by the band Lord of the Lost. This is very interesting, actually. It's not really one of my favorites this year, absolutely not, but this is the first time, maybe just at all, that Germany has sent a rock song to Eurovision, or metal, I guess, a kind of goth metal, I guess you could describe it as. The lyrics are pretty repetitive, if I do say so myself. But really, most people were just looking for anything to defeat Ike Hüftgold in the German national final. And Lord of the Lost came along and did it. So a lot of people were happy about that. But even beyond that, this is the first time Germany has sent a rock song. So yeah, I do think it's going to be interesting because Australia is probably going to qualify, and then we'll have to see kind of how the rock vote is split. In that regard, we'll just have to see what happens. But I do think it's a relatively competent entry from Germany, actually, and I don't think it's going to end up last place. So yeah, with that said, let's move on to Italy. With Italy, we have the song Due Vite, which means two lives, sung by Marco Mengoni. And if you think that name looks familiar, that's because exactly 10 years ago, Marco Mengoni already represented Italy in Eurovision, which was, of course, in Malmo. That year he was singing the song L'Essenziale, but this time he's won Sanremo second time now, but this time with another Italian language ballad named Due Vite. Originally there was speculation that he would change his song because Due Vite is actually too long for Eurovision. It's 3 minutes 46, but later he confirmed that he's just gonna sing a shortened version of Due Vite. Some bits were deleted, basically, although the cut version isn't out yet. So yeah, he's gonna be singing Due Vite in Liverpool. After that, we also have Spain, who are being represented by Blanca Paloma with the song Ella Ella. Blanca Paloma had already been in the national final, Benidorm Fest, last year with the song Secreto de Agua, but this year she has come with a very different song. Obviously, it's named Ella Ella. She sings very well, and it sounds very traditional, but at the same time very modern. It's basically like electro flamenco, if that makes sense. So yeah, after that, we also have Ukraine, who had their national final in December, and the winner was Torchi with the song Heart of Steel, which is originally fully in English, but then they decided in a revamp that they were gonna add like 2 lines in Ukrainian, which I think are totally out of place, but you might disagree. But yeah, a revamp was released, I think, this month or last month. And yeah, there are still favorites to win because, it's Ukraine, but I don't think they're going to win. They'll probably get like lower top 10. One reason for that, I think, is you can look at there's two things to look at for this. The first one is Junior Eurovision. I don't know why more people don't talk about this, but basically, in Junior Eurovision, the Ukrainian representative only got about 60 points in the televote, or 30 points even. No, it was 60. 60 something points, which is pretty standard for Ukraine at Junior Eurovision. So, clearly there we saw that there wasn't anywhere near as much of a kind of sympathy vote, if you want to call it that. The second thing is Melody Festivalen this year, because we also had a Ukrainian in Melody Festivalen this year, Maria Sur, but even though she won the second heat, which she was in, it was in the final she only got like 30 something televote points compared to 85 for Lorraine. So yeah, that is a pretty low number, and I think certainly there really isn't as much of a again, like, I don't like using that word, but sympathy vote or whatever. So I think this will still do well because Ukraine knows how to stage, and the Kenny, Jeffrey Kenny from Torchy actually sings pretty well. But I don't think this is really a winner. But yeah, with that said, let's move from Ukraine to the United Kingdom, which is going to be represented by Mae Muller with the song I Wrote a Song. I heard on a podcast a while back from Free British Dudes that they were disappointed that the BBC didn't take take the momentum with Sam Ryder and go for the win. Well, I would suggest that they probably don't really want to win right now because this is expensive stuff and there's a cost of living crisis going on right now. So yeah, it's still a very competent pop song. It's been charting in the UK, which is very rare. I think the last time that happened was 2011 or something like that. So yeah, still very competent, and it's the kind of song that many people have been wanting the UK to stand for years now. And now it's finally happening. And Mae Muller is also going to all the pre-parties. For example, Barcelona, which is happening as I record this tonight. So yeah, there's that. And actually, I want to go through these very quickly. Not all of them, but I think 2024 is going to be a pretty big year for Eurovision because, if you look at the numbers, I think at most we have had 43 countries participating in one edition of Eurovision. But I think next year we might have 41. That's not more than 43, but I think that's still going to be a pretty big number. And 41, that number comes from, well, obviously that's 37 plus 4. And those 4, I think, are Monaco, Luxembourg, Turkey, and North Macedonia. Let's start with the easiest one, North Macedonia. They're broadcasting this year, as you can see right here. North Macedonia, they're broadcasting this year. And they're actually doing Junior Eurovision this year as well. I think, yeah, they just don't have the budget to take part in Eurovision, in adult Eurovision this year, but they really do want to. So I think next year they'll be fine and they'll be returning to Eurovision. So there's that. After that, we have Monaco because, like it's mentioned here, the broadcaster was supposed to launch last year actually, but it was pushed back. So we're probably going to see them in Eurovision 2024, and the reason I'm so confident about that is because in the budget last year, they actually had put out specifically 100,000 euros to take part in Eurovision. So if they're able to put that out, then I think they really do want to do it. So I think we will see Monaco in Eurovision 2024. The last two are very interesting. First off, Turkey. With Turkey, the coalition of opposition parties selected a new candidate to run as president. It is interesting because this person who's been selected by the coalition actually said in 2021 that it was a great shame for Turkey to withdraw from Eurovision. So, and actually, it's been predicted that there's actually quite a high likelihood for this coalition to beat Erdogan's government. So, and actually the elections take place just like 2 days after the grand final this year, I think. So we could very easily see Turkey and TRT return to Eurovision next year in, I don't know, Stockholm or Tampere or whatever. Yeah, and finally, Luxembourg. Now, of course, as you know, Luxembourg hasn't taken part in Eurovision since 1993. And what would cause them to suddenly return? Well, they have a gay prime minister. Well, no, they've had this gay prime minister for a couple of years now, but it was actually, I believe, either this year or late last year when the prime minister set up a specific working group to get Luxembourg back into Eurovision. This is very interesting because obviously Monaco's been in Eurovision in the 2000s, but Luxembourg hasn't. So we don't know how they're gonna select their entry, or if they're gonna just steal a singer from some other country or whatever. It's gonna be very exciting for them, I think, and it's the prime minister himself, setting up this working group. So I think there really is a drive in Luxembourg to get them back to Eurovision, and I really hope it happens next year because that would be very interesting. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of it. I'm not really going to talk about Kazakhstan because they're a big unknown right now. So yeah, that's pretty much it. On what we know so far about Eurovision 2023 as of March of 2023. I hope you enjoyed my commentary. Like this video if you did. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss my upcoming videos, which will include my top 37 as well as a qualifier prediction video. And I'll see you next time.